Donald Trump expected to meet with a probation officer today. It's part of the process as he waits to be sentenced next month.
That's right, and it comes as the former president is very active on the campaign trail. He was out in Vegas this weekend. Good Day's Robert Moses is outside the courthouse in Lower Manhattan with what's going on. Robert, good morning.
Dan and Rosanna, good morning to you. Former President Donald Trump's sentencing is scheduled to take place here at criminal court 1 month from tomorrow. It will be a media circus because the former president will be here. He's not here today, though this is an important day in the sentencing process. A probation official here in New York will meet via video conference today with former President Donald Trump, who will be at Mar-a-Lago. It is a required conference before his sentencing on July 11th. Typically, defendants do not have their lawyers present, but Judge Juan Merchan gave the former president's attorney Todd Blanche permission to attend today's meeting. A pre-sentencing probation interview like today's is meant to gather information about a defendant for a report that is then passed on to the judge to help him or her decide on appropriate punishment. Former President Trump held his first rally yesterday since a jury convicted him on all 34 counts. The temperature at the venue in Las Vegas eclipsed 100.
I'm up here sweating like a dog. Secret Service said, we have to make sure everyone's safe. I said, what about me? Oh, we never thought of that. They don't think about me. I'm working my ass off. I'm working hard. This is hard work.
The former president's opponent, President Joe Biden, concluded his trip to France by visiting a cemetery there where more than 2,200 Americans who fought in World War I are buried. President Trump canceled a trip to the same cemetery back in 2018, citing rain. According to The Atlantic, he called those buried there suckers and losers. While not referencing the former president by name, it was clear that President Biden was speaking about him when he addressed reporters.
I think it is a measure of a country's support for democratic values that they honor those who've risked their lives and lost their lives. The idea that I'd come to Normandy and not make this short trip here to pay tribute. And it's the same story. Think about it. America showed up.
The former president denies ever making the remarks in question.
Unless you're a psycho or a crazy person or a very stupid person, who would say that anyway? For me to say suckers and losers about people that died in World War I in front of military people? It's not a possibility you could say a thing like that.
Later at the rally, the former president called January 6th insurrectionists hostages.
They're victims of what happened. All they were doing is protesting a rigged election. What a setup that was.
We expect a female probation officer to be the one interviewing the former president later on today. A campaign spokesman says the former president and his attorneys, quote, are already taking the necessary steps to challenge and defeat the lawless Manhattan DA case. We're live at criminal court this morning. Rosanna and Dan, back to you.
Hey, Robert, before you go, there was some reports over the weekend that the judge in this case received some kind of Facebook message from a family member of a juror claiming that, you know, Trump was going to be convicted before we knew he was convicted. Is there anything to it? Has that been dismissed, or are they justifying, verifying? What are they doing?
Well, the judge, Juan Merchan, put out a memo saying he became aware of that post from a cousin of one of the jurors who apparently had some sort of advance notice of the sentence. We don't know if that's going to play a role in the sentencing here on July 11th. We expect the judge to address that at some point, either before or during sentencing.
Got it. All right, Robert, keeping an eye on things for us. Appreciate it.